Beloved child, before you rush to defend yourself, before your heart erects its familiar walls, before your mind spirals into replaying every moment to justify your choices, pause. Be still. The message I bring is not one of condemnation but of divine clarity. It is not judgment as the world judges, but a revelation meant to open your eyes to what heaven has seen all along. This word comes from the throne of grace, not to shame you but to shake you awake, to free you from the lies you've held as truth. God's voice is calling you, not to tear you down, but to lift you up into the fullness of who you were created to be. God says, "You were wrong, very wrong." These words may sting, may feel heavy, may spark resistance in your soul. But hear this with your spirit, not your guilt, fear, or pride. This is not about who you've been, it's about who you are becoming. The truth is not a weapon to destroy you, it is a key to unlock you. This is a divine invitation to step out of cycles of pain, deception, and self-doubt into a life aligned with heaven's purpose for you. You poured your heart into someone you believed was part of your destiny. You defended them with every fiber of your being, through tears, through sacrifice, through unwavering loyalty. You stood by them when others turned away, convinced that your love could save them, that your faithfulness could mend what was broken within them. You mistook trauma for connection, chaos for passion, and spiritual warfare for divine partnership. You thought they were your assignment, your purpose, your calling. But beloved, they were your distraction. Heaven saw what you could not. Heaven heard the words they spoke in secret, the deals they made behind your back, the subtle manipulations, and the way they twisted your story to garner sympathy from others. They betrayed you in ways you didn't want to see, and yet you carried their burdens. You prayed for them even as they cursed you. You protected them even as they exposed your vulnerabilities. This was your greatest strength, your capacity to love unconditionally, but it was also your most dangerous vulnerability. You believed that your loyalty would change them, that your sacrifices would prove your worth, that your persistence would lead to redemption, not just for them, but for you. But God says, you were wrong to think love alone could fix what they chose to break. They were not your responsibility to save. Their wounds were not your mission. By holding on to them, you allowed the enemy to linger close, cloaked in the guise of someone you loved. This truth is painful, but it is also liberating. Letting go of this lie doesn't diminish your love, it redirects it to where it was always meant to flow, toward your own healing, your own purpose, your own divine alignment. In your pursuit of love, acceptance, or peace, you made yourself small. You silenced your voice, dimmed your light, and suppressed your spirit, believing that if you became less, they would hurt you less. You thought that if you gave more, they would value you more. You convinced yourself that shrinking was humility, that staying quiet was strength, that absorbing pain was holiness. But beloved, God says, you were wrong to shrink yourself just to be loved. Those who were intimidated by your light weren't harmed by it, they were offended by it. Your radiance reminded them of their unhealed wounds, their unaddressed fears, their refusal to grow. And instead of rising to meet you, they demanded you lower yourself to their level. You let their insecurities redefine your worth. You allowed their criticism to drown out God's truth about who you are. They called you too much, too emotional, too intense, too spiritual, too sensitive. But what they labeled as excess was your anointing. What they mocked was the very thing designed to break generational chains, shift atmospheres, and bring heaven's power to earth. You were created with intention. Your sensitivity is not a flaw, it's a gift that allows you to feel the heart of God. Your intensity is not a burden, it's the fire that fuels transformation. Your emotions are not a weakness, they are the language of your soul, crafted to connect with others in profound ways. You were wrong to let their voices become louder than God's. You were wrong to believe that your worth depended on their approval. But now, you are being called to reclaim your voice, your light, your God-given identity. Perhaps the deepest wound is the one you inflicted on yourself. You believed lies about your worth, your purpose, your value. You thought that holiness meant disappearing, that spirituality meant silence, that love required you to carry pain without breaking. You believed that your past disqualified you, that your mistakes made you unlovable, that your brokenness made you unworthy. You measured your value by how well you performed, how much you could forgive, how much you could endure. But God says, you were wrong about you. Your worth was never tied to your performance. Your mistakes were not the end of your story, they were the beginning. Every misstep, every tear, every wrong turn has been woven into a tapestry far greater than you can imagine. Your wounds don't disqualify you, they reveal your calling. Your brokenness is not a barrier, it's a bridge to those who need your story to find their own healing. You were wrong to think that God only uses perfect people. Heaven delights in willing vessels, not flawless ones. You believed the lie that you had to hold your breath, to wait for love, respect, or peace to find you. But how long did you hold your breath, beloved? How long did you tolerate dishonor in the name of loyalty? How long did you let fear dictate your steps? The truth is, you were always enough, not because of what you did, but because of who you are in God. Your value was never up for debate. Your calling was never contingent on their validation. You were wrong to let their opinions shape your identity, but now you are ready to step into the truth of who heaven says you are. Being wrong came at a cost. You settled for less than you were created for. You accepted crumbs when God had prepared a feast. You agreed to silence when your voice was meant to thunder. You stayed in rooms that rejected you, calling it humility, when it was fear in disguise. You let insecurity guide your decisions and trauma steer your path. You allowed fear to sit in the driver's seat of your life, and every time heaven whispered, "There is more," you whispered back, "I'm not ready." The cycles you've been stuck in, repeating the same mistakes, revisiting the same pain, clinging to the same lies, are the result of what you didn't confront. What you don't confess, you continue. What you don't face, you repeat. But God loves you too much to let you stay on the same mountain, circling endlessly. This message is not about shame, it's about shift. It's not about what you did, it's about what heaven is about to do through you. The winds are changing. The ground beneath you is trembling. Heaven is rewriting your story. This message is a holy interruption, a divine course correction. God is saying, the version of you that settled, that shrank, that believed the lies, it cannot come where I'm taking you. You must release it. Release the false humility that kept you small. Release the fear that held you back. Release the narrative that said you weren't enough. Because in God, you are more than enough. Correction is not rejection, it is the Father's hand guiding you to a better way. Heaven is not angry with you, it is invested in you. Angels are rejoicing, not because you were wrong, but because you are ready to be right. Right in alignment with God's purpose. Right in your identity as His beloved. Right in the truth of your calling. Right in the power He has placed within you. You were wrong, but you are not forsaken. You were misled, but you are not forgotten. You were deceived, but you are not disqualified. This is the moment everything shifts. Your eyes are opening. Your heart is posturing to receive what's real. Your spirit is ready to soar beyond the limitations you once accepted. This is not your end, it's your unveiling, the moment when the real you begins to emerge. In your darkest moments, when you couldn't feel His presence, God was there. In the betrayals, when you cried out for justice, He was watching. In the nights when you almost gave up, He was the breath in your lungs. Every silent scream, every aching moment, every time you questioned your worth, God was holding your destiny in place. You were wrong to think He left you. Heaven has never stopped working on your behalf. Angels are surrounding you now, not to shield you from the truth, but to walk you into it. You are stepping out of agreement with the lies. You are breaking free from the false narratives. You are waking up to the brilliance you buried under survival. And heaven is cheering. The pain you endured, the rejection you faced, the losses you mourned, they were not meant to destroy you. They were meant to prepare you. God says, you were wrong, but now you're ready. And heaven is not saying this with condemnation, it is being said with the voice of a Father who never stopped believing in your return. A voice of love, not of shame. A voice that has watched you from afar, not to judge you, but to wait for the moment when your heart would finally become tender again. That moment is now. You're ready, not perfect, not without scars, not without questions, but open. And that is all heaven ever needed from you. Ready to heal from the wounds you've carried in silence. The ones you buried beneath laughter, under work, inside relationships that gave you temporary escape but not true peace. Wounds that were too deep to speak of without your voice breaking. Wounds that made you think something was wrong with you. But God says nothing is wrong with you. You were just living with too many burdens that were never yours to carry. The time has come to lay them down. One by one. Memory by memory. Tear by tear. They have served their purpose. They made you strong, but now they are making way for softness, for tenderness, for peace, for the gentleness of love to pour into places where pain used to dwell. Ready to confront what you've ignored. The hidden conversations in your head, the aching truths you've pushed aside, the version of yourself you locked away because the world never made space for that kind of honesty. But the light is calling it all out now, not to expose you, but to free you. Every truth that scared you, every mirror you refused to look into, is now becoming a doorway to grace. Confrontation is not cruelty when it comes from God. It is a cleansing wind. A sacred disruption. It is what turns silence into revelation, and numbness into awakening. Ready to forgive yourself for what you didn't know. Oh, the weight you've carried for not seeing it sooner, for trusting the wrong people, for making choices out of fear instead of faith. But God says, I saw it all. I knew you would learn it the hard way. And I still never changed my mind about you. Grace is not given because you were right. It's given because you are loved. Your ignorance didn't disqualify you. Your delays didn't discredit you. You are not behind schedule. You're exactly where the mercy of God intended you to be when it knew you needed time to become who you are now. Ready to dream again. Do you feel it? That flicker of longing that's rising from the ashes? The dreams you buried because you thought life had passed you by? They're not dead. They were just sleeping, waiting for the season where your spirit could believe again. You are not too old. You are not too broken. You are not too late. Your dreams are waiting for your agreement. For you to say, yes, I will try again. And heaven will meet you right there. Not with small ideas, but with divine blueprints. Heaven doesn't deal in half measures. What is coming will make you wonder why you ever doubted in the first place. Ready to walk in power. Not power as the world defines it, but spiritual authority. The kind of power that comes from surrender. The kind of power that doesn't shout but shifts atmospheres. You're being clothed in spiritual strength, discernment, boldness, patience, peace, fire. Power to speak and be heard. Power to command storms to be still. Power to walk into rooms and carry change without saying a word. This is what you were always meant for, not applause, but impact. Not platforms, but transformation. Not being seen, but being felt in the spirit realm. Ready to stop settling. The days of smallness are over. You have outgrown what you used to tolerate. God is not letting you shrink back into versions of yourself that played it safe. He is calling you into spaces that challenge you to rise. The connections that no longer nourish you will begin to fade. The jobs, the relationships, the identities that no longer reflect your growth will start to feel uncomfortable. That's not punishment, that's alignment. What you settled for before was based on survival. But now, you're ready to live. Ready to shine as the light you were created to be. You've hidden for too long, not because you lacked brilliance, but because the world tried to convince you that your light was too much. But heaven made you radiant on purpose. Heaven put something in you that cannot be dimmed. Now is the time to let it blaze. This is not arrogance, it is obedience. When you shine, others remember their own light. When you rise, others are called higher. You were never meant to blend in. You were born to illuminate dark places. Ready to reclaim your voice. Your voice, the one they tried to silence, distort, and shame. The voice that trembled with truth but got quiet in the face of rejection. It's coming back with thunder. You will speak again. Not just for you, but for those who never had the courage. You will sing, write, declare, proclaim, defend, create, whatever form your voice takes, it will not be muted anymore. Heaven has authorized your sound. And the world needs what only you can say. Ready to break generational patterns. The cycles end with you, not by force, but by divine intervention. You are not crazy for feeling different. You were born to shift the atmosphere of your bloodline. To rewrite the narrative. To walk away from patterns of trauma, silence, addiction, abuse, poverty, and shame. You are the answer to the prayers of those who came before you, and the blueprint for those who will come after you. You don't have to be perfect to be chosen. You just have to be willing. Ready to receive the love you deserve, not the chaos you mistook for connection. You've confused chemistry with covenant. You've mistaken pain for passion. But your soul knows the difference now. Love is not supposed to hurt like that. Love does not confuse you. Love does not punish you for being sensitive. Love does not ask you to prove your worth. God is preparing a table where you will be seen, held, honored, and cherished. And it starts with you loving yourself enough to wait for it. This truth may feel like fire, and it is. But don't fear the flames. Fire purifies. Fire refines. Fire exposes what is impure so that only what is eternal remains. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. The heat you feel is your soul waking up. The shaking you feel is heaven rearranging things in your favor. Let it burn. Let it break. Let it bless you. From this fire, you will rise as gold. Not just polished, but purified. Not just shiny, but holy. And you will look back on this moment, not as the one where everything fell apart, but the one where everything finally made sense. Where you stopped running. Where you stopped pretending. Where you stopped hiding. This is the moment of awakening. The ruins you see are not your failure, they are your foundation. What collapsed wasn't meant to last. It was only scaffolding. What broke you wasn't meant to define you. It was only the pressure that formed the diamond. What left wasn't meant to stay. And what hurt you will be used by heaven as the soil where your harvest will grow. This is sacred ground. The ground where pain met purpose. The graveyard where shame was buried and resurrection began. Your pain is being transformed into purpose. Your tears have not been wasted. Your suffering has not been overlooked. There is divine meaning behind every moment. You are stepping into a season where the very things that tried to destroy you will be the reason people find hope. You are becoming a living testimony. A breathing miracle. From the grave of your past, glory will rise. Let the tears you've shed water the soil of your next season. Every drop has been counted by heaven. Every sleepless night, every lonely day, every heartbreak, they are being redeemed. Your harvest is coming, not in spite of your pain, but because of it. God wastes nothing. And now, He is using your sorrow as the seed of greatness. Let the old you die. The one who stayed silent to keep the peace. The one who tolerated what your spirit couldn't bear. The one who questioned your worth every time someone left. That version of you served a purpose, but it cannot follow you into your promised land. The new you is emerging, stronger, wiser, unshakable. With fire in your bones and heaven in your eyes. You thought you were delayed. But you were being prepared. Hidden in plain sight so that when you emerged, you would be unrecognizable to the enemy. You thought you were abandoned, but you were being protected. Covered in the shadow of God's hand so the weapons formed against you wouldn't prosper. You thought it was over, but it was just the turning of the page. Heaven has always seen the real you. Not the version shaped by fear or shame, but the original you. The one who was created with glory in your DNA. The one who was destined to shift atmospheres, break chains, speak life, and carry the presence of God wherever you go. You are stepping into that truth now. You are not becoming someone new, you are returning to who you always were before life tried to break you. If this message found you, it is no coincidence. This is a divine appointment. Heaven orchestrated this moment because your spirit was ready to hear it. ready to rise, ready to begin again. So breathe deep. Lift your head. Wipe your tears. And take that first step. You are forgiven. You are chosen. You are rising. You were wrong, but heaven is so right about you. And now you are ready. This is your moment. Release the lies. Embrace the truth. Step into your new chapter with courage and faith. You are not defined by your mistakes but by the God who redeems them. You are not bound by your past but freed by His purpose. You are not who they said you were, you are who heaven says you are. Speech balloon. If this message touched your heart, declare, I'm ready to become who heaven always saw in me. Red heart. Step into your new chapter with confidence. Repeat button. Share this with someone who needs to know, it's okay to be wrong, as long as you're ready to be free.